Good morning. Thank you for choosing to come to this channel. Basically, in this channel, we discuss Buddhist topics, and I do it while I'm driving down the road, typically to and from work or between jobs. And I just want it to be like you're in the car with me riding along and we're just friends talking about Buddhism. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about samsara and why do we have such a hard time escaping samsara. What is samsara? So I guess we'd start by what is samsara. Samsara is a cycle of rebirth that has three upper floors and three lower floors, just like a house. So, and it's full of all kinds of sufferings. And sometimes you have a sensation of suffering, and that's what most people call happiness. So the three lower floors are the hell realm. Yeah, in Buddhism there's a hell realm, but it's a little different than other religions' hell. You stay there until you burn off the karma to be there. It's just like this human existence. It doesn't go on forever. Eventually you burn off the karma, and then you die, and then you take a rebirth, and you're born into one of the other existences. So in the same way, hell is not a forever place. It typically, from what I've read, it lasts a long time due to the fact that you're suffering, which causes you to develop strong self-grasping, self-attachment, and it's harder to develop minds like compassion and love whenever you're going through suffering. I mean, you know that in your life right now as a human. If you're experiencing a toothache, or you're experiencing knee pain, or some other bodily pain, it's hard to sit down and generate a virtuous mind in meditation unless you're a really good meditator. So there's the hell realm, and then there's the hungry ghost realm. The hungry ghost realm is so they have these large bellies and these little tiny throats that looks almost like a straw, and they can't, anything that they see turns into like liquids turn into pus, and like the meats and vegetables and stuff like that turn rancid, anything that they come in contact with. And this is one of the lower realm rebirths. Just like the hell realm, it doesn't last forever, but it does last a great deal of time. Now, there's stories of people that make dedications of food that they'll leave out and stuff like that for the hungry ghost. I've done some of that as well. I dedicate it to them, and food that's dedicated to them, they can find it, and it doesn't turn into an impure substance. That's at least my understanding of it. If you've heard something different than that, please comment in the comments below, and I'll try my best to do a little more research on it. Mind you, I'm driving down the road, not reading from a book, okay guys, so bear with me here. And then there's the animal realm. I had someone once tell me that the animal realm is not a low existence, and I would encourage you to go out to a farm and just stand next to a cow most of the day. They have insects that bite them. They have to stand out in the weather, whether it's freezing cold or raining. They're constantly having to eat. A cow just has a never satisfied appetite. It just continuously eats. And then typically cattle end up going to slaughter. So then in the end they end up killed. So a lot of times they have their offspring taken from them. And you think, well, what about wild animals? Typically wild animals are constantly in search of food as well, and they also are constantly afraid of losing their life. Always in fear of sounds and stuff like that. There's a predator. So, next is the human realm. That's one of the upper realms. The human realm, well, it's like the ground floor. Okay, so the human realm is typically, people say, it's where there's enough suffering, but also enough freedom to where you can develop compassion and stuff like that very easily. And so it's easier to escape samsara on the human realm than any other floor. You know what it's like to be a human. I would say if you're still here, most of us have, we perceive a self to exist a certain way, whether we're strongly identifying with our race, our political party, our gender, our whether or not we're a parent or not, whether or not we're single or married. So there's all kinds of different things that we can grasp onto, even whether we're a Buddhist or a Christian. So there's several things that we can perceive. This is me. This is the I. This is who I am. And then once you perceive that, and you start seeing that as being real, that this exists inherently, there's no causes and conditions associated with it, then we cherish that object that we've created in our mind. So that's self-grasping and then self-cherishing. So whenever we start cherishing ourselves, I'm not talking about taking care of yourself. I'm talking about cherishing yourself. This made-up self that you've made, this imaginary self. If anybody crosses you at all, then you get extremely angry. So you have this self, and really that's what you have to overcome to escape the cycle of suffering. It's a little more in depth than that. You have to purify karma and some other steps as well. I'm planning on doing a class on what is enlightenment and how to get there. So that's going to be one of my classes coming up. So I'll go into depth a lot more with that. So I'll carry on with this class. So the next level up is the demigods. So demigods, they live for long periods of time. They don't have a lot of suffering, but they do tend to war with other demigods. So there is some suffering there, but not as much as there is in the human realm. So then you've got gods, and these gods they last for a very, very long time. So you typically sentient beings that are born as a demigod, they've purified a lot of their negative karma. They've done a lot of virtuous things, probably in life after life after life. And then they're born as this demigod. Well, there's hardly any suffering as a god. There's hardly any suffering as a god. You're born into this realm. You have this extremely long life, and it's full of ease and like I said, there's very little suffering at all, if any. Typically, the only suffering that you experience is at the time of death. You're leading up to death. I think they say they start blinking as a sign that they're fixing to die. And anyway, so the stories that I've read about that, they don't experience very much suffering except for at that time. So, and there's gods of the formless realm. Now, the formless realm means it's just kind of like an existence without form. So there's an extreme amount of bliss. So this is the highest state that you can get in samsara. And it lasts for a very long time. But even with this state, eventually you fall back down into the lower realms. So typically most Buddhists ascribe to this is not the goal to get into this formless realm state, but to actually reach a state of nirvana or enlightenment, and actually shed off this it seems like a prison, but really it's arising in your own mind. It's not outside of your mind. This samsaric existence is inside your mind. So once you're able to shed that mindset, then you don't go back into samsara. You're free. So it's not a prison per se. It's your mind that traps you here. So I hope that this helped a little bit explaining what samsara is and kind of the cycle of rebirth. Yeah, please like and subscribe, and like I said before, leave comments in there, whether they're good or bad. It's okay. I'll read all of them. And any ideas for future classes, definitely post in the comments what you'd like to hear about. And if you disagree with anything in this, that's okay too. It's not a big deal. We'll just keep on moving forward. So thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.